You have enough paper to give me some too.
Here, they give us a lot.
Good luck.
You all write pretty big though. You
That's-
use some crayons to flow with, you
That's a
know?
DKP.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing.
Flows are pristine.
Classic DK.
You know where I'm ready for. Oh, never mind.
I know you have full paper because I did people's on.
You say so. Looks like I have pulled up.
Did you say you have it pulled up?
I have to.
Oh, yeah.
I have 2 emails.
Yeah, use the second one. I mean, it's the same document.
Sure.
It's the second chain.
Okay. I'm good.
Ready?
Contention was the status quo state by state legalization is coming to the federal government won't take action. Go check your 14 point states and DC pass law legalizing marijuana. One of these Washington State, Colorado, where permanently legalizing the possession of habits and states Arkansas is the following to marijuana still remains a federally controlled substance and full legalization before high marijuana use is legal under state law, but federal government still considers a crime practice. Congress is divided legalized and structure. Legalization avoids the industrialization of habit tree copies of 14 marijuana. Will be sold by for-profit companies, paying cultural habits, which have private beer, professional parts, criminal side companies that use marks and savvy, principally brand everything more organized enterprise will be driven by profit shareholders to attract cultural values for reality and consumers. We'll see the law is still price numbers to be advanced price distribution not profit and organization of trying to commodities or profits is not used for simply designating organizations not profit as securities that will be selling great ideas not profit every one can do more to get to guard against us and not profit. But be required to have a board of trustees like much public or public health agencies that take a required license to issue promotions simply that all licenses recommended donated to causes related to substance abuse missing cannabis not profit to retrigger the incentive structure corporations seek to not profits not inherently introduce any Taylor Street levy production or mission is to serve public interest non profits do not carry out operate sufficiently to hire the maximum production cost of very low heavy user fee supply by 3 where the greenhouse space costs are high because growing economic criminal organizations whose joints for the toxic will draw to and it will not profit to reach out to tax sizes and tax regulations about the same by generating much revenue sales restricting do not cause a public grant marketing things not from our alcohol for use because it's the limiting can grow non profit under it operate under different incentive structures restricting to non profits is better in every respected plan. The United States should legalize use, production, and sale of marijuana for non-profit organizations. The advantages of corporations there are to impact first is big tobacco is class and collapsing. Now the first reason is health regulations and alternatives economies and 14 going seems from multinationals who will gross right now with higher regulation of bridges for big commercial requirements for cigarettes and sold up in smokers are trying to achieve program once the economy first we can see all this in a very serious sense of long-term health. The tobacco industry, the second is declining news rate. They're trying to adapt to the market but are unsuccessful economy and getting cigarette consumption is quite rapidly forecasted. Even had first even proportions of the international adult society to enter the market in a single like say several before back realizing the credit nicotine delivery the lack of flavor options, higher prices, PB and illegal equipment used for about $1.5 billion in status quo. State by state legalization reverses these positive trends by leading to corporate control companies and a level of legal marijuana when corporate dominant the price taxes regulations that will legalize marijuana entry was like big tobacco. The will disadvantage legal marijuana made up price like possible possible profits that will happen with legalization. The US legalized marijuana getting cultural needs without ruling the capitalism cannabis. When we see this product in market is hold the entry without tobacco just will make it clean restrictions that claim to grow on the corporate farms farmed by exploitation of farm workers and unfettered corporate control costs of concomitant tobacco market leads to make tobacco take over very and 14 legalization advocates tobacco consider the effects of tobacco companies entering market with substantial marketing power capacity and for marijuana cigarettes backside and the advocacy whose primary objective is maximizing profit for legalizing marijuana market and remove barriers to increase sales with public relations and legal hurdles. Plus the fact that corporations of the market industry will take over the market and aspirating public health from dual users are more likely to experience with health outcomes such as chronic respiratory symptoms users less likely to deal with GC and reinforcing the independence of legalized tobacco company may have tobacco companies have long-standing interest in the legalized market and that leads to millions of death. Heller 14 policymakers should definitely policies that would prevent the industry becoming directly involved in the market that would rapidly the smoking epidemic which kills 480,000 Americans each year in the industry with intention to manipulate the consumers will take over the retail marijuana market 52nd. Impact is the environment, flavor versus warming, 2 ways versus big marijuana corporatization of plant classes, the environment leads to monocultures, the large-scale operations and intense chemical environment, and 14 cultivation of cannabis falls upon the bottom farming that is practiced for a single large amounts of that for space of large-scale farm corporations here currently moving forward and to an era where people are taking care more about environmental stewardship, monocultures being programmed to favor more environmentally supportive political practices and these areas to natural ecosystem that might be considered to small farm. Yet, but agriculture more sustainable food, culture and practice of enduring human history, self-help farmers are best equipped to carry out the truth and incorporate cannabis, glass, and the whole environment extinction uses from cannabis, industrial cannabis, ag, having global effect environment, also regarding marijuana, mistake farm limitations and consideration of potential and shaping to scale. The operation is completely unsustainable, responsible activities, course, and protecting everyone cannabis access to righteous and putting future generations at risk. And so, say well, marijuana is over to the rest of growers and people legalize marijuana, hey, implications are sustainable farming, governments, more energy efficiency, it's only been better management, irrigation, around the industry, and the other has potential greatly dedicated harmful impacts, cultivation, and water warming. Also, provide a gateway for young horticulture and the impact is warming health and routine ag, solution, climate change, consumer energy, ag, the atmosphere, agriculture, mitigating climate change solution, or climate change, radical transformation to access to that, but at the same time, limited probably dinner, quality, poor health, malnutrition, these problems probably solved by very natural way, industrial activities, small biodiverse, psychological, farm, culture, being partial, pasture, growing, productive, monoculture, polyculture, knowledge, and values of information for agriculture, climate change, polyculture, and improve and rehabilitate marginal lands with the second internal link is having plan, NZA enforcement against hemp production, DuPont, and I can see makes illegal manufacture, cultural clubs, CSI, marijuana, developed spaces to help that CSA to the EA use industrial hunt can't do the same as marijuana grown drug use. The EA has prohibited farmers from growing industrial hunt and hemp, solves warming, sequesters carbon, and produces clean chlorine, biofuels daily, and to the effects of global climate change. Not how long contribute which hardest possible consumption methods and believe biomass energy to be carried by biomass contain and make major contribution to electricity from American methods to be used in substitute generally fossil fuels, carbon takes reuse for method to achieve atmospheric carbon reduction canvas perfectly placed utilizing it as chemical composition there. Exists the text translate this into pragmatic climate change mitigation options that have all that ultimately comes out as one of the best energy copies and ideal approach to climate change mitigation includes demonstration, prevent destruction of ecosystem, outburning countries and setting out required changes to land use and rule and environmental impact rights and synthetics rule and station canvas that by all of the other criteria when it's being integrated into the possibility of climate with the ability to grow and be grown in all lives and canvas to form the basis of naturally distributed biofuel and cellulose as an all what an ideal successor fossil fuels with cannabis securing the environmentally sound, economically viable and warming as the anthropogenic most comprehensive analysis improves green and the most comprehensive analysis they make analysis of your climate also where one of your various risk climate science strong free or part of HMB research down that scientific agreement suddenly increasing by 97% endorsed there so you can get from the public sector out of the neighborhood cannabis and so systematic comprehensive review of the literature rights activity out of the counter decision paper research interviews and the scope of portion of public research and even if sovereign is inevitable keeping it below 4 degrees Celsius is critical anything else is better shock containment until 4 degrees Celsius standards devastating increased risk for food production and present the human farm scarcity tropical size volunteer school lots of diversity 4 degrees center building plan procedure agitation science unequivocal equal to the cost of higher levels of broken are increasing likely mutualize the public for objections and interpretation of your developer every uncertainty every region will the effect of the foremost one will be hardest for security world can and must be avoided the warming disproportionately affect periphery communities who are least responsible climate change process lines of race class gender and social status for ketamine had justice in the here climate change disproportionately affects our obvious but unequal birth and possible those who come from the private responsible active here is 20% less greenhouse gas per household less wealthy America regards space as wireless responsible emissions and justice with compounding effect for our on the underlying and societal and activities and quality rules done who have to develop and access to resources obligations to the legacy slavery segregation placement on reservations for the indigenous population systemic discrimination that follows now locking in different experiencing distribution of climate change practices like the increasingly adjusted it causes extinction of ozone and habitat reduction condition climate change early pressure on climate change and the right comments questions including caused by developing countries that mitigate climate change and extension of civilization in human experience for rapid change in the U.S. and corporations are disproportionately responsible for climate change and overwhelm and the individual level emissions public debates are crucial to hold and environmentally structured actors responsible come out and a lot of the U.S. government responsibilities would include direct and indirect influences in the leaders of using responsibility for local governments to be intent by the economic and power commissions cannot be forced to act when this occurs problem can be interested or solved by others who are willing to take action when decisions for safety that form possibly also because the first person or action are insufficient and the disempowerment from compliance with the information amplifies the tendency toward political inertia that penalize the handle system to hide and expectations or statements of the public office that's right local agencies as we need to enforce the human and our public decision makers politics we require that population for what it would be targeted to increase disempowered feels by wealthy and bringing message to affect by political and countries who need to more attractive folks the higher personal private sphere to energy to be interactive to bring screen consciousness and political influence and that of demandful or responsible for pollution private pressure decisions can create more options for hard historically, due to having into market behavior to the contrary, alarms recently more likely to have taken personal action, especially the respondents were constantly receiving climate change to pose less of a threat. People are more engaged in global warming than Americans, and so this is happening in an urgency alarm and making changes in their own lives is more than aggressive natural responsiveness, and specifically the desire for it to have to take pro market behavior, those who think environmental problems with spirit, have this rather than giving away the data, list of residents and population beliefs. Also, motivate lobbying public information campaigns to legislative courage, people are moving beyond smart that and that beyond.
Okay, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, the plan text says the United States. What does that mean?
It means the federal government states.
Okay, both of them do all that. Okay, legalize. What does that mean?
To remove criminal and civil penalties and regulate.
Okay, what are the regulations?
Regulations would be the nonprofit or regulations in the plan text, for example,
Okay, are there other regulations?
potentially.
Potentially.
The plan text obviously doesn't outline all of the regulations. There would obviously be like health regulations, just as there are on any food or product for use.
Are there any others?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh, okay, so we don't know yet. The question I have is next about licensing. How is it licensed to nonprofit organizations? What does that mean? So what constitutes a nonprofit organization? Just say
There's a
they
federal
follow-
government definition of nonprofit organizations, and we would use that definition to determine who could produce.
503C.
Okay, what does it mean to be a nonprofit organization?
Are you asking what the federal government's definition is? It means that you cannot distribute revenue that you get to your shareholders.
Okay. My next question is about hemp. How does it solve warming?
The DELE evidence says that it is a carbon sink, so it takes carbon out of the air. It also can be used to produce a biofuel.
Okay, how does that solve for like Chinese, Indian pollution?
Well, it takes out the carbon emissions from the air, which would take out Chinese emissions also.
How do we take out?
The whole biofuels argument plus the whole land.
How do biofuels solve any of that?
What do you mean?
How do they solve like Chinese and
Well, I
Indian
just told you that
pollution?
the carbon sink is the internal link to solving Chinese emissions.
Okay, how? What evidence do you have that says
The
this
DELE
solves all
evidence
emissions?
The DELE evidence says that it would be sufficient to address the global problem of climate change. It also says that it could be modeled.
Okay, so if hemp was planted in the United States or if it was grown, then it would be modeled.
It could be, yeah.
The next question I have is about corporations. You say collapsing now. If state by state legalization, is that the key interlink? That's the only linchpin that they have left?
What is
There are no alternative causes to corporations collapsing other than
Big tobacco corporations.
the reason that big tobacco is collapsing are the first two cards I read about health regulations, the economy, and the
I'm sorry, my question is more along the lines of why is state by state legalization of marijuana make them sustainable?
Oh, the reason that they're sustained by it is because they can enter the market because there would be a lack of regulations and an unstructured market that would not exclude them from entering the marijuana market. So as more states legalize, then they will enter the market.
Okay, but how does it solve this is what I'm saying, is like this collapsing now part says health regulations and alternatives.
It gives them an alternative source of revenue.
Yeah, Kunkelman uses where they put nicotine into marijuana, so they secretly get people addicted to it. They buy from big corporations.
And an alternative source of revenue, like I said.
Okay. All right, should we start down?
Oh, can I use your stand?
Yeah.
So 3 off and then swings.
One second, next to it. Okay.
First off, see the word legalization is meaningless. LELR and independent practice word legalization is very different, meaning the meaning is one incomprehensible absence of specific details of the plan. It requires regulation. CLB and 14 please legalization of legalization, obviously that's not correct. Quotation means given that if it requires a group of conduct of activities unregulated, legalization means the ability to lawfully regulate a given activities of activities no longer considered criminal vote, negative absence, specification, or arrangement, which is being debated about legalization. But the United States useless first is education is good, and 97 for different things used criminal legalization projects to spell out what observers mean when they legalization observers on most of them being used when they're trying to address the issue complex we need to be armed with clarity seconds crowds and teachers key to stable demonstration otherwise they have kinship to Walker and legalization officers legalization factions existing position legalization moderates criminal patches legalization bills for limited patches of number of different policy options. Next off is the capital of the United States should ban marijuana in the United States, legalize commercial hemp production, and the important hemp seed disease. All enforcement activities against industrial hemp, implementing national sequestration strategy using hemp and chemical self-sequestration returns, and all 6 function enforcement agricultural carbon sequestration in the United States by distribution use and emissions sequestration companies and national states and local levels of government private care using commercial solid one unpublic place government and sequestration part related incentives and basic commercial commodities system respective rules and the communities of hunting and domestic carbon sequestration energy greater gains good and increasing budget extending requirements of government and these budget providing access to services communities on government land states to stop regulation to encourage carbon sequestration providing and incentive for sequestration activities develop green and social approaches to achieve the rights effects and can you can distinguish between marijuana and easily Hawkins at all and the United States allowing you additional help that legalize marijuana certainly many nations legalize industrial production while you do marijuana, where industrial drugs laws, industrial have to require low THC strands there, are also particular various high plants and fields of production, for example, fiber plants or planted close together to encourage tall vertical stocks, with the abilities to be absent as the liberal ideology, legalization act of racialized violence in the market Calhoun, and for the South free market marijuana is the individual dream of political progressive, the root is an ethos of extortion weed, who must be legal that it puts in the hands of responsible retailers with big marijuana. It's one of those issues is one of the local privatization markets and legalization to those victims of the depression marijuana markets find themselves out of repair and exclude and individuals from operating that are administered or has always been reachless and leads to many black officials with the hacks the laws are addressing black libertarian conception of privatization legalization makes winners of the market for those who are already have access to hands and capital after legalization many talk about the right pre-existing landscape where the legalization prohibits for participation in direction of marijuana sports and institution by power liberalism combined to create a unique form of necropolitics as energy and six of power describes the constantly the pigs action by power and self-desires of this world and location of calling purposes of the great position is the purposes of the state which is more peace symbolically to take on the unpeace of war without ever finds to operate in the name of the civilization of the world power create death worlds endless war is the which are part of politics of profits accrued through extraction resource privatized militias the application of the power right to kill or civilize the benevolent form of power the present structure of culture to save people from themselves and source of market what is must support lifelong homosexual is another figure who may be able to die in the name of the market the state female forces with those who refuse to allow themselves to die natural capitalism emerges as a practices that involve dispossession, death, torture, suicide, slavery, destruction, livelihoods, internal management of people as a new form of imperialism and because of learned to manage things that are next off is nature, the abstract rejection of chaos and construction of real world opposite reality, the ordinances to this gender response not this threat and 1960 after some rights over answers like for as this can be like the new search social foundation way how soft training also foundation part of mastering so the district is characterized by against your life control is only possible creating real world suffering is key that care what about this but this is and elements could be understood from which someone displaying Nietzsche this results from the real world from the world who was just given model to the world and actively sorry sometimes this for research for nothing this results when a judge's need to heavily mold the apparent world of security is found in how the results want to discern a difference which strikes away and all that makes life only the embrace of the inevitability to discern a difference in insecurity can we form like their Darian and make the history of beneficial seeking impossible security moves radical other life triggers they give us like proof identity seeking security trying from alien others those who are seeking accelerating impossible guarantees one must be with the will of power prior to the generative hopes the various security life itself is the will of power self-preservation is the only one of the most grotesque possible power from which values and meanings of self-preservation are produced which for security actions to restore the destructive years of the endemic to likely of this condition and manifest the response of the difference in this negative will of power is a fear-driven desire to protection from the end of the fear of the unknown is to certainty to produce a domesticated life one that's been not one not only searching so how to actually for particular suspected and for kind of explanation they all know because it becomes identified as equal to equal has so second desire for security. The subject of this world will part with the result of fear. And the journal, there's value to the love of the name of the powerful next of fear generates the values which upholds security imperative. The point is to show the perilous condition of security imperative in the Western must be destroyed to dismiss it to disparity yet the fear of life persists the security of the self-rational self the possibility of life for your free while this these opportunities of fear will feel herself as an affirmation of an alternative is to do nothing in the instance of a plan, the refusal to access the inability to struggle, language to understand life and pain possibly Nietzsche in something that the right here was about attack our state was think of self-defense our own state would not like nothing better to overcome harmless victim all states presuppose their neighbor's bad disposition and their own good disposition. This presupposition is inhumane is bad as war and worse because wars and treacherous immorality of the need where those provokes a hostile disposition and actively break the sort of oneself on arms that is the need to real peace whereas our peace in the absence of peace of mind one was neither in oneself nor one's need but rather perish than hate fear and twice rather perish than oneself hatred and fear go to the case cancel corporate takeover. Heller Miriam is in the context of sweeping control of the industry. Heller also concludes that legalization of marijuana is bad and NPOs are anti-government corporate control. Ellison in marijuana systems to maintain appearance they are not part of the reverse of cash money and out business by trying to certain farmers which charge legal sales of money operating one of the largest dispensary model is being audited. They found marijuana is black for black sugar report stated $222,238 profit and big tobacco doesn't want to get into marijuana disease and 41 was off from tobacco where the companies are in the business of manufacturing and marketing marijuana canal and Paul has no place for research marijuana software of trying to get into the marijuana industry carries race to both legal federal legalization of revitalized tobacco industry Sealy and for actually sweet tobacco. And all comes down to monoculture rice material, oil crops, quarry at all, and unfortunately, the diversity of crop species has been considered provides a national food supply. Well, what become more similar competition correlate particularly the global potential of oil crops that increase homogeneity of worldwide potential to establish a global standard food species or globally, and there's no warrant for this bill of arguments to make a model about other countries like China or get upon evidence is also criminally under highlighted since there are instances of gay control bill that doesn't assume the process of broad legalization of every single state and the government for small farms failed McWilliams and small students feel global farms inherently not better than better students in many cases we don't have to improve one farm support sustainable system that may lack awareness and need to follow sustainable production practices with process communities being averted those who are market warming. Ecosystems are resilient NPCC and 11 climate tolerance point of which many predicted increased collapses and have performed the fact to rate back communities remain remarkably resilient to rise CO2 concentrations increase up to 1200 ppm temperature increase by 40% with very little broad scale exchange change to the possibility of record indicate by resilience and to amplify function of climate incidental the human and 7 where the red line and the angels we have already passed CO2 was 390 ppm the Hansen and they were verified by real-time observation climate data since 350 ppm was the upper limit increase plan that is any of those unrefuted additional support. It is other costs will depend on targets like 450 implies we still atmosphere looking don't feedback loops or methane release to kick in and paleoclimate data proves well is wrong page 11 the climate scientists have announced research was next up to more things. Researchers are assuming unlikely previous studies have looked only to 1859 before they integrate paleoclimate data fees. The to apply to future results have imply less probability of climate action change the planet's climate and not the system for more should much further there's no need to theorize by 450 ppm. There's no crossing getting near 2 degrees Celsius rise of century and more large changes can be ruled and now there's no model no reason in the plan why other countries like China or India will even solve.
What is the status of the counterplan?
Additional.
Okay.
Can I just take it for you? No.
Okay, the T argument, we have a regulation in our plan text.
Right, but in cross-ex, when we asked you what would the regulations include, you're like, well, there'd be some health ones, there'd be some of these ones. She said if we write a counter
So
plan.
you just have to have all the regulations in your plan text.
You have to.
You have to have the ones that you have to specify in cross-ex which ones you would defend. I think that is a sufficient standard.
Cross-ex.
The counterplan, the United States, who's in the United States?
The federal government of the states.
Okay, so it's a 50-state counterplan.
Federal government and the states.
Okay, got it. So there's not an alternative to this, like, biopower, neolib, none of it.
It's the
Counterplan
net benefit to the
solves.
counter plan.
So banning marijuana solves neoliberal.
The argument is that you prop up and cement neoliberal ideology, both in terms of the way you recenter a focus on NPOs, the kind of invest.
So marijuana legalization is the only internal link to the.
Okay, we would argue that there is a sort of psychological investment and a turn within neoliberalism away from corporations to kind of NPOs. Marijuana is endemic of this. Argument is that this sort of turn is what will
Towards
reinstill
NPOs, the
neoliberalism.
plan is an NPO.
Yeah, exactly. Right, that's the link.
Okay, wait, I thought, what's your uniqueness argument then? I thought you said we were turning away from neoliberalism towards NPOs.
No.
What's your unique
Argument is
difference
that
then?
the affirmative is an attempt to turn towards NPOs, which really cements
Okay,
neoliberal
got it.
ideology.
What's the uniqueness for this argument?
What do you mean the uniqueness for the, I don't understand.
You said that we uniquely prop up neoliberalism. Is
I
there an
think we
argument that neoliberalism is dying now?
I think it's a reason the app is bad. Roll the negative is to prove the app is bad.
Okay, the alternative on this, the Nietzsche K is just to do nothing, could that result in legal?
No, it's to do nothing in the instance of the plan,
Which means it cannot result.
which means
in
yes, so
legalization.
yes,
Okay,
obviously.
what does it mean to do nothing in the instance of the plan, but
It
not in
means
other
don't do the
instances of
plan.
security?
It just means don't do the plan.
Okay, so,
Our
It's that
argument,
when faced with the question of should we affirm the plan or should we negate the plan, we should negate the plan. Sorry.
our argument is that we are faced with a choice as to whether or not we affirm life or negate life. Decision to do nothing or to do the app.
why is the plan negation of life, or?
Well, that's a question of the link debate. Our SARET evidence is sort of really specific in terms of the way it makes it clear that the construction of real world in which you're trying to access denies the possibility of seeing the world for what it is, which is violent, chaotic.
How does the app not see the world as violent and chaotic when you've outlined different
Because
levels of
it attempts to resolve chaos.
So-
It attempts to
Okay, so how do you recognize
It
chaos
attempts
without
to build
it being resolved?
The
securitization
argument
against
is that-
warming.
Well, the argument is that, for instance, the attempt to limit out the corporations, we're arguing that, first of all, case arguments would indicate that that would not be successful. The corporate control is one factor of inevitability. There's all sorts of other.
Yeah, 828. You just follow the case argument on page.
No.
Okay.
No, I split it up after small farms failed.
Okay.
And started on warming and ecosystems Arizona.
Okay, so I'll go the small farm stuff first and then the warming stuff.
Did you want all that stuff on one page? Is that what it is?
I don't care.
Actually, put
And you said on warming and then started.
No, I
reading
know,
it.
no, I mean, no, I mean, that's fine.
I don't think it's a fault, then if you wanted to split up the graph on the case, split the graph on the case.
actually start in reg spec. Then
Reg spec T, I mean, and then the case. What was the off case for it?
I haven't get that one yet. Sorry. And after case Nietzsche, the counterplan.
T case Nietzsche counterplan.
Okay, we good?
Yeah.
Okay. Spec, we meet the plaintiffs, the ways that we defend the regulations that don't come to the ones who can access the market. Also, it's an unreasonable burden for the negative for the affirmative to have the regulations are tons of them, and then at least the bad context right because it would be in favor of at least the negative and the skew side in the Regulation Act. I've never mentioned a deal for reasonability patent until the tax regulations will say cannabis act but the legislative both healthy for the TRCCA but all the details of the implementation requires the government to adopt reasonable laws and calibration the app should specify which resolution and reasonability checks all the arguments process checks also because we said we would defend our most regulations that all means we wouldn't tell you all of them and no loss because potential be sound better. Go to case. Legalization is an inevitability because of momentum on drug laws and changing public opinion. In this case, your ballot represents an affirmation or negation of the regulated market. The status quo market will be unregulated, which allows for more control of the market. Two effects, which competition, which was conceded. The tobacco industry is collapsing now, but the legalization allows the influence of the market. The impact is 1 billion lives a year because the smoking epidemic collapses it deathly. Second is the environment. Over control the environment causes, or over control the market causes the environmental protection. Only regulation can ensure that they are able to enter the market, which allows small farmers to provide independently solve warming through sequestration low emissions from techniques today. It's not without legalization. Good or bad, how you use institutions to guide legalization toward the ecological sustainable social outcomes. The first argument is that the law not make money, but this is not relevant. Yes, they can make money, but Hawkins said that if they control the market, it rejiggers the local political economy, so they're not focused on making money, or rather focus on health. And even if this is true, it's still not really after the idea that it's not part of corporate control, but this evidence is not about actual non-profits, or it's just saying expenses will use 503 status to Harvard says, Hawkins says that we have to have boards of healthcare that will solve the impact that big marijuana doesn't want to enter the market. This is just lip service because after you want to look back, they are but they empirically they control the market when it's device legalized. They alternative costs to costs. It's just app uniqueness because it says that people it's just that the reason why biodiversity is decreasing now, but the app would solve that anyway because it changes it. Also, the technique to which they consider even says that polyculture is being monoculture being on if you polyculture is zero, so this is small forms bad. The warn the card is the reason is that the knowledge doesn't spill over, but marijuana provides that that's the whole card. It's now the wrong stuff. The warnings of ecosystems are resilient. Their arguments just better. Their Kim is from 2012. This seems the newest IPCC study. There is the oldest NIPCC study, which we really mentioned that teacher friendly. That only argument takes into account the positive feedback which are occurring. Now they say climate. They go next. They say climate. Proves arguments as much as every question. IPCC is not a government organization, which is pretty much referred not. NIPCC has apparently people going who are climate deniers and have to do so to get paid off by well, let's say the model to win the other two internal links, but it's irrelevant. They not contested with that. The U.S. is the opposition card. Dealing card says it's the U.S. may be sufficient because it would sequester and cause a transmission tab. Go to the game. Framework the rule about is allowed the accusation of the act, the good neighbors, the accusation of the commitment that applies to the broader institutions, not the any rule about like the act, the apathy, the arbitration, celebrating explain which the yank will always self-serve and choose effectively not really be simple predictability, scrutiny, discussion of the legalization topic and around prior extinction security and working to getting the existence of the test for generation kind of should be asserted as human rights and noticing to allow all the life of all the presentation could be now that this is starting to work with the entire thing of this only this human sales and everybody theory has favored the interpretation as a chance of politics as an approach should be researched to address the chance of survival to their syndrome they feel like the chance of literature on time changes the book making very interesting existence we should do responsibility for generations what we're doing here tribal can give us reassurance our life is meaningful acknowledging the precondition of human life to alien capital for public it's the potential to forge all of back into one community to unite from the threat because they're all put in danger legal relations cannot be ignored and Resentment is devil good solid liberty via motivation continue is Resentment over and to the Resentment as well as Resentment suffice need to be heard out what we know that you must see Resentment that talking about the except that Resentment is a circle for freedom Resentment and the preconditions of opportunities against the government change from Resentment itself suffice with Resentment perhaps we are being as those who prefer to perhaps we are all Resentment's children already and perhaps that is okay we do not need to rage against the weakness and others because we feel the independence and weakness in ourselves or because humans we are relational beings but in denying that the vulnerability a condition which not only victim plays is only the role of victim spring but that of the morally responsible agent Nietzsche fails to be the provocateur he loves to believe he is I think that we direct our blame towards more useful and now the top level global things that require reviewing is not we have to accept pity for utilitarian reasons we don't center and our world has changed in ways that Nietzsche we now have the ability to prevent few countries destroy the ozone layer the whole world perishes or 255 nuclear war the whole planet is something this is something that the interconnected something as we live in a global community where where action affect ever the larger number of the planet is pretty on the community everything. It's just less including permutation do both. This also like there's no opposition between argument for pragmatic change the world and affirming life as in any chance and the refusal to change and or from a self-delusion that withdraws from the world and denies the important aspects of life may invite for those who think philosophy way to capitalize on then solve the logical puzzle that struggle with it as we can see what is wrong in the world in a way that offers us the possible to change much of the social arrangement that we're presently want to demonstrate why this way why this is and why and how it happens in order that we may prevent it to exist and there's another goal not too much in enriching the world as the measure to change the world and to celebrate life. One cannot choose sides or one must choose both sides. The one or the other can only lead to disaster or counts as the alternative not to resolution of life is that must blind us not to jettison world changing for and to the world it requires a self-deception, market self-deception and avoiding suffering is distinct from fearing death. Extreme anguish is never done something because they impose on others any of us. And suffering is a pure path of deep and suffering that's chosen cannot be meaningful systematic with the never end suffering. Suffering is the touch and the short path for those who suffering appears often justified and suffering calls for death from the use of pain to total practice for the other body for the acknowledgement of the pain suffering is equal to suffering and in exception to the subject of the subject of being something magnetic before the truth that is alive the self-death is the pure path of suffering and the freedom of the world. Suffering is justifiable to suffering versus the passage from humanity for suffering without meaning is also bringing is of evil and bad voting issues which seek allocation and it also destroys the organized responsibility because of the separate also the negative fear because no negative resolution from the should be calculated the calculation they get one additional senior to the actually, treating warning as an external trigger coming inertial response to solves and spills over. It also today's sports team made rates locked in the violence of this climate to the competition, conflict and obligation for the natural play in the day common causes, and the shared consequence of the climate change create a sense of shared that implies that diverse groups of human psychological research with the shared cooperation of competing with market competing to go to the camp. Prediction do both prediction the multi-actor field of the voting issue because it's still the actor and bring out trouble with the consequences of the neoliberalism with ethical because all practical terms are worse than violence and also no uniqueness for any of their impact because obviously this is just resolving once the neoliberalism is spillover tenors or just that. Method resist the committed to compare around with any low connected that when you need to question the compare with what it doesn't do any good to compare out just that's the interest of people thinking why the minds of difference among the with of order society also they seem like a dull barely distinguishable to the question is without this better alternative we should compare the entirely communism they say we feel that terrible trying to create a something which everyone is equally equal the yields themselves disposed really just by power of what's categories like good and bad good bad word makes determination solely based on efficiency adjustments to the market change the terrain of individual liberty without display regulation of particular individuals about the welfare state we're in and that guilt and should not be seen as simply not to one form of party broke with the tendency to the model for to link chaos to behavior learning the long time between good and bad for yields of the struggle with virus much less attractive much less disciplinary and enabled injustice the principle categories characters of disruptive practical representative Wilson is almost out of partial alternative the present disciplinary law has one has the image of the study which there could be an optimization of the system that is a sense of the differences in which there would not be an invention of the connection into the subject individual but invention of the environmental planning is sustainable the also useless abstraction artisan and the PDFs real altruism every models to contain the sort of thing language of the people that say that the name of who proposes to speak of her because it is simply not attractive to make the most use of knowledge is important but it's not as critical theory must also be for this culture the yellow could be it must be elaborate a real social vision to that's what we imagine is that we imagine the correct details simply deploy example of connected to or compare reality to utopian correct market utopian predictions and legal say the effect has order towards legalizations the federal prohibition causes a shorter time workers causes tax certain time if working policy ban a federal places smoking package stuff out efforts to hide like a hacker student for the whole communication system marijuana is a for along the rules apply regardless of the high demand and nationwide market are seeing that freedoms will not apply to the individual officials said that they had agencies who could be information security workers to manage stress now let alone future nuclear war till for and control the subject take up to hybrids and whatever actually scratch the card I'll do it later and yeah that's fine.
Is there an impact to this cyber war thing?
There'll be one more.
Alright, hopefully not.
Their impact now is that cyber attacks will happen because marijuana is legal.
So cyber attacks will happen.
Yeah, cyber attacks are bad.
Okay. What are the theoretical reasons to reject the team?
Conditionality.
And no neg fiat, is that?
That's the argument of the team.
Right. Are there any other?
There are another team.
Cool. Okay. Apocalyptic rhetoric. Inconvenient truths have been translated into a bunch of different languages. Why haven't countries cooperated on warming policy?
Because, well, that's like a silly question. Not every country has seen or watched and it can be true.
I mean, China's seen it, India's seen
Oh, you know
it. Why-
China?
I mean, there's part of that movie is about them going to different countries. The
So I mean,
point
everyone in
is,
China has seen
the
it.
point is, warming has been framed as an existential risk by the United States for like
That is
60
an
years
assertion.
now.
You don't have to answer this question for this. It's harder. We've read
Good,
evidence
so
that says
you are
we've
going
read
to
evidence
honestly
from
make the
Cuomo-
argument that says the United people, that scientists are not framing
Cuomo, well, it's relevant. The argument is that it's not being accepted now because groups aren't pressuring now.
which groups would pressure. us
Environmental
as
green
well.
conscious groups. That's the Cuomo.
So
part.
green conscious groups, which are already, so green conscious
We've
groups are
used
not
this argument.
pressuring now.
We are making a unique
Right,
argument
right,
that
but
this is mine
I
now.
challenge you on the truth of that uniqueness argument.
You
Why
don't have
are
a card on this question. We are going to ask you this
Alright,
part about
fine,
working or
answer
not
the
working.
questions. Alright, pesticides, why is the use of those inevitable? Why does the plan stop people from using pesticides?
So you can see the Raven card from Wednesday, which is that environmental stewardship is growing now, which means we're shifting
Okay,
from polyculture,
where?
which uses West.
It's Monsanto's environmental stewardship.
Well, you can see that we spill over to big corporations. So
Right, I'm asking for the warrant.
no,
Saying
is that
you
corporate?
can
Is
see
that
something
big?
not
Is
an
that big
argument.
ag would not exist post plan? So Monsanto doesn't exist.
So how does the plan, alright, that's fine. How does
You're
voting
voting-
out
let's-
eliminate Monsanto?
Okay, well, the internal link is that right now big corporations are going to take over the environment and use a bad form of monoculture.
Wait, so they're
that,
going to take over the environment? They
yes,
haven't done
the
that
status
already?
quo legalization of, I'm talking about corporate marijuana.
Right, I'm talking about like all
Yeah,
of the
I'm
things.
trying to- I'm trying
Monsanto is
Do you want to just
interested
like
in
answer the
more
question,
things
or you
than
just want to
that.
keep interrupting me while I'm explaining the internal link? Okay, so the internal link is the HO card says that the techniques that marijuana farmers use can spill over to agriculture. Also, they
Right.
use their technology
My question is,
and
why would Monsanto have an incentive to do that? It seems like they're making a bunch of money now.
what do you mean?
Why would Monsanto have an incentive to
Because
use
they're-
small farm
Because
techniques? Why would they break up
monoculture
their-
is sapping the environment and making yields unsustainable.
Why does Monsanto care?
Because they won't make money if their yields are
They're
unsustainable.
worried they won't make money, so they're gonna devolve their stuff to small farms. All right, that's great. What piece of evidence you say that says sequestration is sufficient to solve warming? Delete, what's the reason that's true? It's from the
It
Journal of
sucks out.
Industrial.
It literally sucks out carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere forever, as long as the plants alive, at least.
And that's the only cause of warming.
Well, no, we've read agriculture subsidies or ag independently also cause
Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. What else?
people can't arbitrate.
Okay. 5:15. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Let's see. Justin. I finished
I
like
could leave again.
I finished like 3 seconds ago. I swear. I was being dead serious. I wasn't being.
I don't want to, I just didn't want to feel like we were as connected as you were playing, and we were.
Oh. Okay. You were playing defense. That hurts.
I go for perception.
You have a perception today.
It's one of the best arguments. Haven't seen some apps. It's pretty strong.
Topicality, the K, and then the counterpoint. Okay, good.
The entire argument is a potential abuse argument, which you don't have any defense to our interpretation would even have allowed you to clarify in cross-examination, but you didn't. Our argument is that you have to specify exactly what legalization means and tell us what rights you will defend. I would have waited all across if you could have just outlined what the exact function of the plan was. Otherwise, when you say it could be other things, it means that you can always abuse the choice and it makes the app functionally conditional and the ability to shift to anything, i.e. if we read one dissad, then you can say that there's a regulation that solves for that dissad, i.e. if your team reads a big ad dissad, actually then you can apply a new regulation to solve for that specific thing, which is a reason why you cost us negative ground. Yes, it's not the negative ground in the first place, but it's in round use it as the potential for a reason to reject the T, because otherwise it allows for an infinite number of possibilities and reasons why the negative will always lose debates, because they will never be able to get past the 2EC clarification, and the 2ER always speaks less. This cardinal means nothing. Just because past things suck at doing policy making does not mean that it should be irrelevant, especially in a pedagogical space like debate. Now the ground loss, because you can always have new negative offense. The reasonability doesn't solve this argument, because it's functionally the same as like an extra topicality argument. It means that if there's the potential for it to happen, then there is no way for you to be reasonably not extra topical. The potential to be scenario system reasonability is not responsive. Go to the criticism. I'm not going for the permutation. It is a test of the permutation is a test of computation. All of this is irrelevant because all of the arguments it makes is the result once an hour, the world changing is good, fine, it doesn't matter. We went on the counter plan now. The conditionality debate, multiple condition worlds are good. 2EC pressure is key force efficiency, skill development, which solves their impact because they can read Jermaine off the turn on the right flows. Logic is that you can hear level to request defense something worse than successful as turns. The terminal impact to all their arguments. Also negative flex. Our ground is reactionary, so they're always more specific and familiar. We can't avoid the pitfalls without flexibility to find the best position on our own terms. Research. We force more on a wider. We force more on a wider range of instruments instead of the same dependable scale. Generic also additionally will play a little bit of defense. No time steal. Speech. Time to check speed. Speed and speech. General Scott. Also depth is integral to our checks. And choosing an exert influence over negative shifting our counter interpretation is one counter plan or one criticism, because it means that we get educational like breadth of issues, i.e. in the philosophical lit base as well as the policy lit base. Now it's not a vote or just reject the practice. We don't have to win offense because practices cannot be tolerated, especially if they are good. He makes this no neg fiat argument. There is no warrant for this. He just asserts it. Yes, neg fiat export is key to reciprocity because of the app gets it. It's impossible for the negative to win in a policy debate. We also cannot have the ability to fiat, especially when they counter plan. This makes debate unfair because they can always just win it. They're the only policy option, especially when you make a framework framework argument that is key to analyze competitive policy options. If we don't get fiat in there, it's going to weigh that against the part of the peace points. It's key to policy education for actually doing satellite about their both impact in fairness education. Now the next argument, go to the counterplan debate. I will handle this voting issue first. The multi-actor fiat is ridiculous on this topic. Our interpretation is that we have to use the abs actor. It's even more limited because it means we don't get other Asian counterplans, which is much better. We use the United States and the 50 states and the federal government, which is the exact same as what you do, especially on a topic such as this is key to policy education because it actually makes us better decision makers because we can role play as specifically the federal government and the states, which is what your app does, which accesses your role play education from the framework debate over there a lot better, which means we do get these two actors no more than that. Now the rest of the counterplan, you don't have a solvency deficit here, so I think it's going to be pretty hard to when there's no solvency deficit in the 1AR Russell. I'm serious, they don't have one, which means you should not allow them to make a new one. I will explain how it solves. Our entire argument is that first plank of the counterplan is that we ban all marijuana in the status quo. All of their link arguments say, all of their internal links to the case say that corporations need to have marijuana legalized in order to solve in the first place that they are unsustainable absent the legalization of marijuana. Fine, we ban marijuana permanently. Durable fiat means that we get this argument that they cannot roll it back, which means that all of your corporations' internal links are resolved by this counterplan. The second argument is that the federal government plants hemp on public lands, which solves for the warming argument independently. First of all, we access warming for your corporation's internal link, which was in the 1AC, but we also access it because hemp solves as a carbon sink. It can sequester all carbon, even if other countries don't plant it, even if nobody else plants it. When we plant it on public lands, it is such a good carbon sequester. Yeah, they said it in Crossix that it can solve all CO2. They read a carbon sink. CO2 is key to warming, which means that if we solve all CO2 through the carbon sink, then we will debate on this issue. Now, otherwise, it's just a question of the net benefit. Most of their arguments don't even apply. They say permutation depot. This is nonsensical. The counterplan solves the case. There is no net benefit to the permutation, which means you should just vote negative on a risk of the net benefit. Now, the next argument is no uniqueness for the impact. The uniqueness is provided by the counterplan. I think this is where you think that you make a solvency deficit, but you do not, because the uniqueness is provided in the counterplan. Because the uniqueness is provided by the counterplan terms of the way that we ban marijuana legalization. They say neolib is, but they say neolib is the most ethical. No, it's not. Morgan in 98 putting the word that disposal of those who capitalists on more damage to ethical than anything else on capitalism and everything in nature. As the human beings are new, become objects for the expansion, production, technology, growth, and circulation for those who manage life and live from capital. Nothing is valued on its own downstream. Clean air, keep one's own, nothing that sells but are everything to be used in capital yields to the human faith is ceased to command its counter to the needs are incompatible with the growth of the for the capital faces expressing that must be represented in silence ethics is a federal liberation about the way that heavy institutions you only when the capitalism is on the table ethics. Now the next argument is neoliberalism solves disposability, and it's because it solves efficiency. Group this with the utilitarianism argument. So do that today here. We have an independent K of utility. The neoliberal drive towards utility makes structural violence and sacrificial genocide inevitable. Santos 3 the West is under the illusion of destroyed safety man by showing part of this neoliberalism is with the collective sacrifice of the perfect sacrifice of the transgress from the totalitarian illusion. The belief that there's no alternative, there's no limit. It's because Alvin Mark a lot not to be full flight. The West is secure version of this logic solving is not the neoliberalism with its logic and temporal efficiency over the death drive predominates the idea of moving collective destruction and only criminal and mass destruction. The other takes the death drive forms from the idea of describing population, the concept of collateral damage. I marked it and collateral damage. Now the next argument is that the alternative is useless. I don't know what this argument is because we don't have an alternative. We definitely solve one instance of neoliberalism, which is that, and even if we don't, that's kind of irrelevant in this debate because this is a question on one action in terms of the route that you take. I'm going to do the link debate here. You conceded the Calhoun evidence isn't just you prop up neoliberalism, but it's also a specific exploitation argument to the status quo that when you legalize marijuana, as opposed to the illicit markets, does a couple of things. One is that it's a form of resource extraction, i.e., everyone sees all these profits that are being lost in the communities and thinks that they can exhaust these communities for profit in the first place. There's all market shares that is attempting to be opened up by the legalization of marijuana and extract from local communities, which leaves them in continued states of impoverished behavior. The second link argument made by Calhoun evidence is one about racial minorities in terms of the way that the reliance on the making of a living off of marijuana is crucial in the illicit market now, but they will be crowded out, especially because they're going to be filed to as nonprofit organizations who are making enough money to sustain living the status quo, which means that the plan functionally leaves those communities to die out there for the utility of the population. Are you kidding me now? Nonprofits are captured by corporate and state interests. The plan supports lead interest in the grassroots struggle. Anderson aid to counter the prophecy paradigm through nonprofit and work with the cognition of needs to stay by various systems. You're being undue foundations, essentially essentially rob public of monies that should be owed to them by giving back very little of their funds to their private profits, resulting in the exploitation of labor corporations become rich by exploiting workers' corporate profits and then put in a foundation in order to relieve to workers that are a result of corporate practices in the first place. Nonprofit complex of Westwood branch, we should lead agenda of the guys social change the unintended benefits from conservation donations to the actual political property of these certain nonprofits, the perpetuation of privilege. Now, the only sees passive affirmation of legal reform, drug policy in this place. Actually, I don't need to read this card. Don't buy the naivety of the affirmative when they say they can keep the industry out. Paulus 13, there's a ton of money involved with that. Hanging around corporations, sure to follow what happened with the company one is when it with marijuana swallow or to jumpstart before that corporation now create what others who dominate legal commercial production in the U.S. is currently handled by patchwork small farmers dominate. They will. The supermarket domination would come from one of the favorite genetic engineer corporations, Giants Monsanto. Marijuana is an agricultural product. That's a system Monsanto, especially specializing in RNA, can be used to create larger, more potent plants by corn. The marketing seeing illegal macro plants. They say cyber war add-on. This evidence is terrible, and it doesn't say anything. It just says that people that are good at protecting the cyber walls like to smoke some pot and they can't get jobs in the federal government. It does not say that those people are key to prevent a cyber war anywhere in this evidence. No new 1AR impact to this argument because he hasn't read it, which means all you know is that cyber war happens, but there's no impact. You didn't read on the 2AC. 1AR is illegit. Now, the framing to make structural violence outweighs a point is that it's the approximate cause of violence. Exploitation Shepherd 4. Humans reduce the side of the government. They spend one person assuming that the duty to kill there is a regular genocide practice. They lay actions in order to hate peacetime crimes constitute municipal genocides. We need to assess defense by revolutions to commit acts of violence, direct participation in genocide, last possible loss, restoration, solutions to dehumanization, reunification, normalize, atrocious behavior, violence is great in social life. Market there, Visa point. Visa points in this made arbitrarily over the scales. We build this on rhetoric, when they include rhetoric, salvation to good life, remitries and coloniality, that is, dispensability of human lives, not all humans in environment with the same value, yet visibility the critique of your value, human lives is an obvious sign of hidden and imperial upon his value of human lives, which the enunciate becomes the measure stake for evaluating other human lives.
Okay.
Hard to evaluate other people.
All right, Shepherd Hughes evidence. It says small and invisible wars in the end one part. Conducted in the normative social spaces of public schools, clinics, emergency rooms, hospital wards, nursing homes, courtrooms, public registry offices, prisons, detention centers, and public wards. What does a campaign do to resolve any of those instances of small violence that are spilling out?
Our argument is about the way in which we should orient ourselves towards impacts in this debate.
Yeah,
Which is why we shouldn't just ignore,
causes.
even if you were to win, sure, but it's also about the way that we ethically orient ourselves towards that. The argument is that this evidence is making that when we prefer extinction to structural violence impacts, it enables the mindset that is possible for those wars to exist in the first place.
What's structural violence?
What?
What's structural violence?
Well, so against low-income communities,
No,
what is structural violence? Well, neoliberalism is an example of something that causes structural violence. Structural
Okay,
violence
so
is
you're
instances of poverty, instances of income inequality.
Let's move on. Okay. All right.
Did
That
that
is
answer
the
the question
counterclaim?
on what structural violence was?
I'm trying to ask one question. Okay. What is so? How does the counterclaim solve other instances of neoliberalism?
It doesn't have to.
So whether or not Russell votes aye or nay, neoliberalism and the impacts it causes are
Dude,
inevitable.
we are winning a specific instance of exploitation.
Why does
as a
that
result of
matter if whether or not Russell votes aye or nay, those instances and other places take place?
Our argument is that exploitation should not happen. There's a way
Yeah,
to
and-
solve the AF without exploiting people. That's good.
Okay, well, okay. Let's talk about this, the nonprofit argument you made from Against the Current, solidarityus.org. This seems to be talking about nonprofit groups that are tied to social justice organizations. Why is this true in the context of public health officials when they have boards that stipulate regulations?
What?
This evidence is about social justice groups that are tied, like Insight, Women of Color Against Violence, right? That's one of the things that your evidence cites. Why is this true in the context of public health?
Well, part of our argument is that corporations will find loopholes in the law in the first place.
Okay,
This
what's
evidence
the
substantiates-
loopholes?
This evidence substantiates the fact that it is possible to move money out in terms of corporations that they can use and act through
An
nonprofits.
example would be our piece of Ellison evidence indicates that NPO organizations in California will sort of have a front of being nonprofit, but will
That evidence about current dispensaries.
Well,
sorry.
Yes, it's about marijuana dispensaries that are filing as nonprofits. That is the act, man.
The app is public health nonprofits. The Caucus part.
Yeah, the argument is that the infrastructure set up
Okay,
by the
what
NPO
about the
should
Caucus?
be different. Have
Just explain to me how corporations exploit.
I'm going to talk about this in one hour.
Okay.
There'll be a
How do they exploit public health nonprofits?
You can dance. You have all this.
The
Public health.
argument,
If I don't hear the word public health, this is not going to be relevant.
well, there is no instances of public health nonprofits now. They're all
That's
sort of.
what?
The argument is that public health nonprofits in places like California, Maine, and New York have used sort of marijuana as a way
That is not
to
the same way
illicit
evidence.
markets.
Doesn't even, your plan is in public health nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, I do. It doesn't say that.
What about the plan? 2
I
seconds.
need a
Cool.
real quick.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can just get it to you.
Right. Stop right.
50 start 10 seconds. You only have your pepper.
I had 515. We used, how much did we use right there?
One more sec, actually.
Go up.
Right, stop crashing.
Yeah, hold on.
It's fine.
So you go down.
454.
Why don't we just call it 5 and we want to take the extra time where you talk to Sierra after the timer was done? We'll call it even. We'll call it 5 and work that out.
If 3 seconds of prep is the difference, or.
No.
I guess I need you probably had to vote on consumption, and then it's.
Honestly, I'm just gonna, this is a double loss at this point, I'll screw it
I
up.
had Russell would love to vote on presumption.
I do love to vote on presumption.
You sound like Feely.
We went for presumption a lot, man, I love to make the case.
Feely says he goes on presumption in 15% of his debates.
Feely is
He's
also
first
a
in
terrible judge, so it's like 15% of his debates is like one debate on the year. No one's Feely, all right?
Oh, that's.
I'm glad that's gonna be on live stream.
I say it to him all the time, he doesn't get the message, maybe
No
he'll,
one wants Feely to judge this. let's be
maybe he'll
real.
get through to him.
I'm gonna do wherever the cyborg thing was.
The
Cyborg.
cyborg?
Cyber war.
What debate were you in?
Roll that.
Let's go.
This is the end of the counterplay, then?
Yeah,
Am I right, right?
And then it'll be the kind of ag stuff. And then warning. I didn't mean to split it into 2 pages. It's honestly an accident.
So the case in order, basically.
Yeah. Alright, you good?
Hey, what? Oh, is it just this one?
Right.
Okay.
You good?
No emergency agriculture land in 12. Nations all circle with conflict only interested in creating connect responsible connect opportunity to productive might be others that escalation of conflict intelligence together is now able to be used. Well, conflict rate every time national from Kentucky office of corporation money to target the correction the approach is to sabotage their small targets was targeted and reverse will go to the other go to the key speech you can't solve for his corporate parallel first you piece of Heller evidence which is your impact card about tobacco and he thinks that marijuana legalization should be a bad thing because there's still risk of corporate takeover just because it doesn't assume the way you do the plan. You can read a piece of evidence that are contradictory with each other, not have to grapple and do those contradictions. Additionally, your very evidence is way too broad for you to be able to access the concept of sweeping takeover of tobacco industry. Also, there's no also stuff is terrible. There's no data on it. There's no indication of which corporations would actually want to take over, even if our piece of evidence is possibly lip service, at least cites evidence from executives in places like Marlboro saying that they don't have an interest in marijuana policy. Also indicates that they are lobbying Congress to not legalize marijuana because they think that it could interfere with their industry. That's precisely the opposite of the term federal legalization revitalizes tobacco and Cecilia 14 legalization concerning policy but depends on marijuana cigarettes is sweeping the international has or anti-inflation first by the scars marijuana would be a natural business to have one it is cooperative bit legalization of marijuana for tobacco or anti-inflation so uniqueness from today and advantage even be a lower few resources now they do not have an argument on a threshold argument on a threshold also go to the also on the small farms portion there are causes are not uniqueness for them. There is a massive amount of monocultures. Now I don't think they have a piece of evidence that says corporations like Monsanto are going to suddenly stop using monoculture and neoliberal marketing practices just because all of a sudden some small farmers are on pot in their backyard. Guess what? That already happens in California. All my neighbors do it, and Monsanto doesn't give a damn. There's no warrant for this modeling in terms of other countries. Other countries anyway. the Pong evidence is in the context of the DEA can control things now, but not in the context of broad legalization. They're not like a piece of evidence that the DEA can control the spillover in the context of all 50 states that they to the healthcare boards checking. There's no reason why these healthcare boards wouldn't just be instead paid off by corporations. It happens all the time. The FDA is controlled by a bunch of people who run by Monsanto. For example, Michael Taylor is going to be the new executive there, and he's probably not going to care about the tobacco industry is taking over corporations. Now, if it's not already obvious, we're supposed to be conceding that sequestration of Warming Hunter beautifully and emphatically describes the way in which sequestration will suck all of the carbon out of the atmosphere. That means that winning these biofuels internally is totally irrelevant because biofuels don't longer matter towards solving global warming to literally suck all the carbon out of the atmosphere. So the daily evidence to the argument that legalizing marijuana is the only method for sequestration, just that it's particularly efficient one. This is the lens of it's just them to say legalization. He just says that hemp is good, which tends to be careful and access to biofuels called Desone, and they increase the use of nitrogen and phosphorus runoff from the Gulf of Mexico, cause deaths of Renji, and generate forms of grass and grasses for production of biofuels occur carbon deaths, and it's release the carbon dioxide biofuels, displace crops moving, and the engineers and New Year's were further crops were required to help convert 20 acres of soil production encourages it's a lot of use of nitrogen and phosphorus minerals and runoff from lakes, and create oxygen sharp deaths and this is what nearly double emissions and that causes extinction, blare, chemical pollution from points, and areas industry and use of types of waste off the runoff, and interfering in natural living, which causes decrease of the oxygen that's one of the large problems we face, wetlands, and industry raising channels, and built into the these representative clean salt on natural systems restoration and short-term rely on natural infrastructure there. Too much poison bay will collapse. Warming lines or epoch red are good for substitutes on the axis by the counterfeits. We still frame warming as an axis of red risk. We think the counterfeit can solve those evidence is terrible. There's no strong data behind it. Just based on a bunch of studies that say that when people fear the same thing, they're likely to make friends with each other. That's not particularly true. And the concept of climate. I really do not think I need a piece of evidence on that. On this quote, there are a bunch of people who are pushing for legislation of how warming now. There's lots of evidence out there. The IPCC board, for example, the Copenhagen seminar proved that people are taking warming as an existential risk seriously. Most of the information is proliferated and it's spilling over. However, there's no evidence to suggest that countries like China or India would get out. However, all this is irrelevant if we win sequestration is the key internal to all the social warming. Warming doesn't cause extinction. There are a couple reasons for this. Our page evidence indicates that paleoclimate data proves that if you look back beyond 1850, you can see that the changes are both cyclical and also actually lead to exchange. Other studies are only based on the last 100 years, whereas ours goes back for 1,000. Second, warming is inevitable. This is a reason why the only counterplan is to future solve reduced by biofuels are not necessary because warming and now means that we've already exceeded the threshold of parts per million, and there are a piece of evidence indicating we're doing sufficient sugar. The rest is either we can warming is inevitable things like feedback loops, or it can only be solved with massive sequestration, which is something that the counterplan does better. Analyzes better than the plan.
Yeah. That's right.
Can I ask a clarification question? Does the caravan lead to biofuels?
No,
Why not?
because we just plan to use the federal and non-public lands. No corporations planted.
Just change the word. Oh, he also has to be clarified up there. Right? Oh, just explain why.
Is it being sent out?
Yeah, I might have there.
Oh, okay.
Where's Casey?
Time doesn't stop in front of me until you send the, for future
Okay,
reference.
well now it's sent, so.
For future reference.
I didn't do that either.
I already said double lots. I'll let y'all keep going, but.
We're just making sure this one.
We'll do the rest of this in practice, but.
Give some criticisms, we go home with classes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of debate in front of us, we might as well do it in practice. Do you want to go bowling after this?
Sure.
No.
No,
Where do you want to go?
I only like,
Downstairs, there's a bowling
There's a
alley.
bowling alley downstairs?
Yeah,
Oh,
with beer and
that
everything.
changes everything.
there's beer
Yeah,
on campus?
yeah. I know, I
Okay, well,
mean,
that
this is
does
Jarman. Why is Jarman not, I was at the tournament previously and now I'm here and I find out halfway through the 5th day I've been on campus in Wichita State this month that there's a bar here in the Jarman is a failure as far as I'm concerned.
Hopefully he's watching this right now.
I hope so. I want to let him know like how badly he's failed at doing the most important job, which is informing me of where I can most proximally acquire beer.
And sorry, topicality on top actually. And then case something.
Topicality at the top.
Yep.
Yeah.
Top. And that's a stretch, 27.
What is it? It's a classic Hunter pun.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Right.
I think it's broke.
Okay, ready?
Yeah, that's the point of this.
We meet the plan because the plan text specifies our regulation and we do not have any other regulations besides the ones in the plan text. Now they do not press us and cross us on what our specific regulations are. If they had asked us to have a specific regulation, we would have said yes or no. This is their fault and a reason why cross-sex checks is a bad standard of solvency. Advocates would check with our pockets evidence outlines the regulations that result of the plan cross-sex is not checked because it is not binding. There are always ways that you can get out of what you said in cross-sex is also moves the point of cross-sex to what are your regulations instead of actual good questions about the plan that they have conceded are often said this leads to bad plan text writing because you will not put the regulations in the plan text because you will just wait to see and they ask you cross-sex which dramatically changes the nature of the way they consider a counter interpretation that you should. We just have to specify as much as the resolution is the most predictable interpretation because everything else is arbitrary, not resolutionally grounded. Obviously, this is the interpretation is contextually better because with the card, the card says that in context of marijuana legalization, that it should not be all the nitpicky regulations. It should be about the process of legalization, whether or not legalization would be eclectic or decriminalization. I think their interpretation leads to bad kicks in this has a reasonability to not make it possible. There's not a large impact potential because you have one on the Sally plan. Heller and Beery evidence are not contradictory. You even know what they're talking about. We saw concomitant use because the tobacco industry is classic now. We can see their Sealy evidence that said that solves the reason why Big Tech would not take over our coffins. Our coffins evidence says that non-profits would solve this. Would solve this now. I can see that there are alternative causes to the environment, the cereal and oil crops part that they rent and extended issues. There's not an impact to the impact we kind of put on the counterpart also links to the biofuels things because they legalize industrial hemp, which would also create a biofuels industry because they would attempt to do that. The Dealey evidence, there's not a link to this land industry. The hemp will be grown on marginal land, which is all the reason why biofuels are bad. I also can see that worming does not cause and things that there's not enough benefit to the counter plan. Now the counter plan, we don't have any solvency debits because you don't have a net benefit to your counter plan. There is not a unique net benefit. Neoliberalism and the impacts of it are inevitable. And they said inevitable in the status quo. We do not uniquely profit up presumption should flip affirmative when they have read a counter plan and they told that neoliberalism is good or out of the counter plan. Obviously, it's not solved because it's basic projection and you should vote for affirmative. They said the uniqueness for the counter plan points uniqueness for the term. This is not true. The counter plan obviously is not solved. Neoliberalism the cross-sex said that neoliberalism said explicitly that neoliberalism is not low now. It is not low now, and it's just a reason why the reason why the plan is bad. Now they read this not privately because this is just about people like Cornelius Van der Waals of the world, not the public health minded nonprofits like Hawkins and talking about the incentive to do things that are good for people now. Now Richard Simmons, there is no alternative to neoliberalism. Everything else is utopian or extremely violent like communism. You have to consider you can only consider neoliberalism in terms of its likely alternatives we can which there are. Now our running out says neoliberalism is good. It sells disposability, the new type of neoliberalism that is taking over that their cards are trying to assume, and then the phrase good distinction between poor and not poor, so that we can do things like negative taxes that help them now. The illicit economy, that economic benefits or formal economy do not outweigh the negative impacts of murder around a million. And then drug tests keep the jobs lying low, the way the police deal creates violence, it's worth we keep having the incarceration, keep forcing incarceration is the war on large unit institutions and vulnerable because selective racialized rights and things like that. We're less likely to use your unlawful way the police can the huge cash army of industry of there's something that comes to yours roll back and making people vulnerable to safety. Right then, help the international rights have been because the youth have been they have read a biofuels impact which justifies the sales and a new legal argument which justifies it now. The FBI had a practice opposite of solving because it's about legalization, we control you because the NSA are on the brink of shutting down now because they do not have more hackers. We provide the next way of hackers whose federal prohibition is that prevents them from joining now. Now the impact against the card they do not apply because it is about nation states are impact. It's about non-state actors who cause nuclear war. We do not endorse the president of the enabling language to learn to call the cyber technically good civilian control the military power ever military command and control types can do operator systems connect to us and you would shut that communication becomes silent. You should always military be less gravely attack that with less that's more to be met. But a full scale have to use military response to include the use of weapons that we show power evidence that says that this is also says that alternative cause of exploitation, which is the reason why there's not a unit benefit. Now, now, the security evidence. Yeah, okay. Security evidence. Extinction comfort. Extinction comfort is the fundamental right is necessary. Prerequisite value one should always live to handing your action also creates a cosmet, calls an ethic and injects like the thing that was legalization possibility could have been 14 that cannabis is more profitable than Afghan farmers and that cannabis people could better greatly from society. Legal cannabis industry back in this industry could provide Afghans need a source of legal income. That part there that spills over to Pakistan and Paris cuts all that around and Afghanis in the Halvan strengthened and strengthened by American. That's probably the powerful Elizabeth Common strengthened strengthened friends. So building mark that they're SSC for right all 10 contentions are escalating crimes and hiding the council security forces killed the terrorists planning crimes another attack. Only amount of time clashes how escalated the country from the I think when the force to that body is ordered to become a traitor to by Kindle. The diplomatic talks out. They have conceded I can concede our sustainability evidence and arguments that they're technological and moralistic advancements that have made it so that neoliberalism is not always that and changes to be responsive.
Before we start recording, where should we see cards and anything catch them?
So I said out the doc worked.
You said
I can
that
just
was
tell them. Monty has canceled diplomatic talks is the Rydell card,
Okay.
which is the third one I read. And then threatens, the strengthened insurgency threatens stability was the Phil Brown card. And then Afghanistan, a needed source of legal income was the Goodman card. And then on the Williams card, which was the first one I read, because youth who might be leaders are locked up, which is like kind of in the middle. Oh, well, it's towards the end actually.
Do you get all of them?
I'll also send this
I didn't
out.
get the Goodman one. Could you just say Goodman again? Sorry.
Yeah. Goodman is Afghanistan a legal source of legal income, a needed source of legal income.
Okay. Got it. Okay. We have 5, right?
Yeah.
What? Okay.
He's explaining that.
So that's what I was asking you. I don't really understand it. I mean, I'll write it down for 2 years.
keep that for later. Case counterpoint.
Credit cards.
Yeah, there are. For reminding me. I would have not sent them. They're out.
Triple ones.
I don't even use. Okay, pretty good.
Case, I don't think they have an impact area left. Yeah, after 1 AR, however, there is no link to this biofuel system. There's no reason uniquely links more to the chemical in the average space. There's no link differential they can't weigh. This is offensive counterplan solves the entire case. I'll just do that analysis here. First of all, we ban marijuana in all states. Durable fail or safe conceded keeps all the corporations out because they said that corporate tobacco corporation will collapse under the status quo without sustainable marijuana, which means that any impact they would go for would be solid. It's also the federal government could plant help which stop any more. I know they conceded impact here, but in case they try to do something like make new arguments which were prevalent in the 1AR. I think they might try to do something in the 2AR, although we saw by the count that they have no salt steps, they can see this reads if we win the risk of a net benefit, it means you vote for the negative. Now the counterplan, they say the impact is inevitable in the status quo, do not uniqueness prop up things. But the impact is not inevitable in the status quo. Exploitation in terms of the marijuana market is not inevitable. It's a specific instance of exploitation. Group this with her no alternative arguments below. Look, I'm going to say this here. This is an example of what happens when you try to become a policymaker, trying to fight against neoliberalism, trying to search for the best policy solution that minimizes exploitation. Imagine if all policy were like this, where we try to come up with the best solution to try and stop exploitation. The affirmative simply says, whatever, man, exploitation is inevitable. However, that this is the vote in terms of all of our ethics arguments, which you conceded. Now, the next argument is that don't vote affirmative on presumption. There's no reason to vote affirmative presumption. We have an independent exploitation act that you do not have an answer to in the 1AR. They say that the calculated evidence is there are two warrants which you have conceded both of them. First of all, is the resource extraction. Like right now, the market in cities right now is the market in urban areas which have marijuana is lost income for corporations in the status quo that they see it as some sort of resource that is being lost out on and will try to exploit and try and gain that money off of them, which uniquely clouds out minorities in the first place because a lot of income in those communities relies on the selling of marijuana. They ignore all of our arguments with the way that the illicit market is net better in terms of structural violence because of the fact that it's a specific income stream that keeps particular families, a lot of them, out of poverty, which is a piece of California. You have an answer to this in the TUSC. The new card that she reads in the 1AR is too damn little, too damn late. You should have answered this in the TUSC because I would have read cards to answer you. Just because I answer them here does not mean that you allow them to extend it in the 2AR. I will read them just to prove the fact that you not reading these in the TUSC skewed the 2AR. The plan reaffirms civil society through locking market bodies out of the legal market. Burdens 14 many fail using marijuana laws as the part of the end of work, they managed to let a few white middle class people off the that's very dangerous. So it's a long way after states with the highest numbers of incarcerated African Americans, someone just because they have to do a job are not going to be able to participate in distribution will increase. They're making change law enforcement circumvent the change and maintain its budget history and show what's up for us also result in 2 times back for communities that color the way that the laws will provide the foundation for stopping for switch. Also, you have to stop black and Latinos from the price of marijuana start climbing people return using other kinds of drugs. Here's more evidence. Minority targeting as a result of licensing Booth 14A. First question is whether legalizing marijuana will benefit African American communities. Impact is always more adverse than positive. There's no reason to try to use marijuana. Arrest versus possession are still disproportionate. Legalization does not mean the police will cease targeting African Americans. Marijuana acts as a tool to arrest minorities. The system possession may not result in arrest, but the police have so the ability to go further on the interpretation of attendant circumstances. The system will forever keep the door open for racial profiling. They don't get to answer this. The 2AR. It's not a unique net benefit that I'm going for. It's proof that they should further from the 2AC. Now the nonprofits get co-opted is also a net benefit. NPOs and small firms will come corporatize. Ellison evidence assumes all your warrants indicates dispensaries like those in California frame themselves as public health organization to avoid the stigma of the big farm. They come corporatize because the infrastructure sales by the industry becomes a front for illicit marijuana transactions with which people keep bankrolling the operations with massive amounts of profit. You should be highly skeptical of their authors. Anderson evidence indicates that regulated legalization NPOs like the plan only exists to get camels those under the 1010 will pay people off to be able to access their market. Also indicates that people historically are able to fiddle with all the numbers so they can appear nonprofit value. When Mitt Romney set up his foundation used to fund his campaign avoiding tax for small farms, so the first place have all the modeling arguments the tobacco industry. You don't solve it. Doesn't none of these arguments are relevant now. If we win it against corporate hesitancy to all of our exploitation arguments and all the economic benefits, they say economic benefits do not, the economic benefits do not relate. First of all, it's totally doesn't count as above now. The NSA shutting down now. ASA points the structural violence outweighs, but you conceded this argument that ignorance of structural violence are shepherd evidence indicates the approximate cost for actual violence means war only happens in a world in which you buy their impact from it because it tries to desensitize us to the many genocides that happen on a daily basis, which makes it possible for larger genocides and warfare to occur. The beast points that there is no link to this argument in the first place. Their piece of evidence just says that some people who like to get high can't join the CIA in order to try and prevent cyber warfare, but does not say that that is going to cause or lead to cyber war. There's also no impact read in the 2AC. You generally knew one in the 1AR. The decent point is no impact anywhere. A piece of Littman evidence says that nations are too scared because the intelligence is too slight to ever engage in a cyber war, which means it will never have any sort of kinetic escalation. Now, I'm going to do a little bit more impact in terms of why you prefer exploitation. You can see the piece of Mignolo evidence as well as the Markovich evidence, both of which can indicate two things. One is that you should arbitrarily reverse the scales. It's why extinction doesn't outweigh the first one, because value has not been assigned equally across all peoples, which is the reason why you should uniquely attune yourself to exploitation. The mortgage evidence indicates this is an independent ethics impact, which means that even in the face of triad, we still try to be as ethical as possible in terms of our policy making. That's an independent argument that they don't have an answer to that I read a quote on in the 2AC. It's an ethics argument that outweighs the death imperative, which means that you should prefer to be ethical and die rather than to live in a world of non-ethics. The last argument is this Afghanistan argument. This is totally new. I can't believe I'm saying this, but no new add-ons in the 1AR. They have no justification for why they get to read this in the 1AR provided. I should have to predict why it was justified in the first place. The Visa point is that she barely reads any of all these evidence, especially the internal evidence of which she reads one sentence, which does not substantiate some sort of war happening in the first place. They say neoliberalism solves disposability. That was all done above the Santos evidence indicates that the drive for utility just tries to operationalize bodies in the first place, which means extermination inevitable, which means your invocation of utilitarian calculus makes your impasse to this card inevitable.
Yeah.
only thing they said was they paid for like no justification. So even for our crimes, we need to justification for ours.
Somebody did that. Case in the camera. Actually, just the camera. Feel good? Yeah. Okay. I know I couldn't screw it. All right. At the top level, my answer, no new arguments. I think this determines whether or not you vote affirmative. Now, we had justifications for our new arguments. They have just asserted that you don't get new arguments. The reason why we get new arguments is because they've got a new impact to neoliberalism, and the two they also have a new impact to the app and the one in R. So it's all justified in order to get something, and also to get back in the game because they have massively stacked the negative. If they get to read a massive and a litany, a new impact framing and impact evidence. But the Santos evidence that they read, but you would see the one in R has to get back to square one. The one we did that was by establishing the news office advance. We also had to get a new advantage because the impact term one of the ones that we were going for. So even if you're on the wrong side, we always had justification as to why we are allowed to make new arguments. They just asserted that we don't get new add-ons without an explanation of why not. Now the top of the pack, I'm gonna go for the surrogate penalties. I don't think it's mentioned even in the two narration. The fall to extinction level calculus. First of all, we also accidentally back surrogate since the level to allow people to die in the future because they're responsible for that because they have not caused any of the problems that they will be responsible for. Second of all, they also can see they caused the policies of the statute. They're very because it said that when we focus on planetary defense, Ford is all relevant political actors because they have to recognize that planetary defense requires planetary cooperation. They've also conceded that the extinction law is also forced to rely on the board for a life if we solve the impact of all disposability on TV, disposability because we give value to people. And in this case, the impact they're going for, they have gone for as unique problems. The impact they are describing the totality of the neoliberal system in general. Obviously, they have not made a skill reclaim. They can't put to resolve any other instance of neoliberalism, which means that whether you go negative, the small violence and the structural violence you're describing is enough. You shall prioritize the shepherd use evidence because I did that working process of describing the litany of all causes that all make slow violence build up inevitable. Like Calhoun is the only thing that is specific, but to Russell, both worlds are awful. Just imagine the counter plan allows people to racial target and physical violence offensively, and even if you crowd the slow, it's much worse. So please say that the 2 are bad. It's just that if people are carrying one, I would give you marijuana, it would give them an excuse to police them. But that is a school. You already get police and something first. And the school, the illicit marketing is when you is a way our illicit marketing is way worse. The new most was justified. Your one C impact is not framed as illicit marketing good arguments, and you develop and explain your impact. And the two series, so obviously that you make a new interest in the block. You don't take money away from black communities. All of their link evidence about big marijuana legalization, not community-minded nonprofit legalization. This is not a new argument. Our whole argument is the way sees that nonprofit legalization is the opposite of the status quo. Williams, the illicit marijuana is way worse than the marginal income they get from its illegality. They are drug tested and can't get jobs, and they arrest no matter how modern means they can't ever get a job because they are already enormous bias against black people. Youth are able to engage in community organizations, so the cycle of self-fulfilling and describe the electronic plantation that describes its go. The Cameron bans marijuana, which means they can still be policed for it, which means that there's no benefit to the Cameron. It's also no responsibility for the burn. Is displayed by this question. It says that it's in where it says there are twofold neoliberalism. The stats has drifted towards the Chicago school where categories of good and bad poverty are eliminated because the market is concerned about operability and efficiency of the market. The negative tax argument, proves argument. Countries provide both for another work opportunity because they're concerned about the population. That is also should be preferred because it's in the context of the United States. They're not either evidence, besides Calhoun describing global systems of neoliberalism, but not in the U.S. which means that neoliberalism solves exactly exploitation in the United States. There was also no reason to there's also no justification for flipping UTIL if we also access the ethics impact and defense on the disposability clause, because it means they're not always disposable. And I'm going to go see add-ons here. They're effective is laughable. They cannot speak only a world is our evidence of the workers of cyber workers workers coming out, and the people that they want to hire can't get hired because they spoke upon the three-year period of testing. And it says our evidence that this is here that future attacks which Ukraine. We're winning I think we're winning a pretty good defense on most of the open stuff because it's all largely has the unique problem, but only the only risk of great power wars is the world in which you go take a second the Afghanistan. I don't think that they have ever answered this essentially. This is unjustified by the new arguments. And you need to read all the cards. Still the party should view it as in terms of risk, the impact of the evidence is extinction. So you should be highly skeptical for voting negative. They have continued the legalizing marijuana is key to the Calvin takeover in Pakistan because the legalization of marijuana would cut off common funds that is sufficient to solve Pakistan's bill. They didn't see that India, Pakistan, and the jihadists in Pakistan will also cause a terrorist attack in Pakistan. In India, will cause great power, which escalates to extinction because they are the two countries that have an empirically high basis for. I'm going to read the last of the impact card. The Pakistani power bill put their illegal force on high level Clinton and not quickly tell the history of the war would not have escalated to a nuclear state. Like a nuclear state. These are both of the add-ons are solving this. They can't because they can't like bans marijuana. I think if we're putting some defense to their impact, and we have an overwhelming, we have a small risk of an extinction impact, even if they're putting some of their ethics framing, look, letting everyone die is unethical. So you're faced with two ethical choices. You should run the one that's irreversible. Extinction is irreversible, and you can't come back to it. Which one that can't play themselves. The non-profit doesn't make sense because they don't have a single card that is in the context of bacon. They don't have a single card that's in the context of public health officials. Only the Calkins card is specific to the market. It says that you rejigger the political economy because it says that people, that public health agents are not trying to get people addicted, which is what their neoliberal evidence is describing, and their non-profits are describing. But they're focused on public health and get people addicted. Their evidence describing all their neoliberal evidence is talking about the non-profit industrial complex, but those are tied to social justice groups. The plan is not that; it's public health officials. So it means there's no risk of
even if we don't get our terminal impacts, cyber attacks is still impact.
Yeah, even if you don't get all of our impact and our internal impact defense, it's still awful to allow India and Pakistan and terrorists to attack the grid. Good.
Was that it?
That's it.
Okay, just making sure.